What is up, everyone? So, me being an avid camper and hiker, I kind of feel the responsibility to reach out and tell people who haven't received training. I got my training when I was in Scouts, and I also am an avid YouTube video watcher where I learn a lot from those about what gear to pack when you're camping. Now, the gear space is a little bit difficult because a lot of the time people get sponsorships and they'll get stuff sent to them for free, and they kind of become jaded. I have purchased any and everything here, so I'm not jaded. I basically am going to tell you if I like something or not and what you should and really don't need to bring. So this pack list is with the assumption that, these are the basics. These are the things that, this doesn't include clothing, this doesn't include food, this doesn't include water. This is just the baseline gear that you would need to bring on any camping trip. So first off, obviously we're going to start with footwear. You're going to need a pair of boots. And if you're not backpacking, if you're just doing like a car camping situation, it'll actually be nice to bring like maybe a pair of flip-flops or some camp shoes, something like that. When your feet are in boots all day, especially if you're doing like a long hike from a campsite and then back, the dogs are going to be barking. You're going to want to get out of those boots. So having a pair of, flip-flops or something like that is nice. I'm a bit of a grouch when it comes to getting sleep. So for sleeping, I have a sleeping pad and I have a pillow. This is a Grand Trunk pillow. It folds up real tiny. So I even do bring this on backpacking trips. Just if I don't get a good night's sleep, which a lot of people do not camping, then I'm kind of a grouch in the morning, and I'm tossing and turning every 20 minutes. On top of that, this is a 0-degree sleeping bag. This is a little much for most people, especially if you're going to be camping for the most part in the summertime. But if you're doing like fall trips, winter trips, having something that will go down to 0 degrees is, you need it. Really, in reality, you'll very rarely get down to 0 degrees, but having that extra warmth, especially when you're out in the cold all day, it's almost like a creature comfort. So this is a big, heavy 0-degree sleeping bag. And then finally, on top of that, this is just a tarp. I just brought this out for demonstration purposes. I also use tents as well, but when I'm hammock camping, I'm under a tarp, or if I'm backpacking, I'm typically under a tarp just because it's lighter. On top of that, for protection, I'm going to need this is a pack cover. So pack cover will basically keep your backpack dry while you're hiking or while it's just kind of sitting there. In Scouts, we learned if it's raining out, it's really not worth taking up space inside your campsite with your backpacks or inside your tent. So what we would do is we would put our rain covers on, we'd cinch them down as tight as they can go, and then lean our backpacks up against the base of a tree. Obviously with no food or anything like that, so critters didn't get in there, but that would basically keep our pack as dry as it would if it was sitting under the tarp, but it wasn't taking up space in our tent. On that note, this is my Osprey Atmos 65. This is a fairly advanced, well, at least at the time I bought it, it was a fairly advanced backpack. This is my primary backpack, what I use for camping, backpacking. I even do some travel with it. So, fantastic backpack. I'll do a review on this later. It has a what's called the anti-gravity system in the back, so your back doesn't get as sweaty, get a little airflow back there. So now we kind of move more into the odds and ends. So this is my food bag. Right now it's just filled with whatever, just mimicking whatever my food bag would be. On top of that, I also have, this is a water filter, and that's to filter out, basically, you're drinking, in lack of better terms, virgin water. You're drinking water that's not been treated. So this is basically your line of protection between getting sick and not. On that note, I also have not one, not two, but 3 water bottles. Now, the reason I have 3, these 2 are 48 ounces, and I like those because you have more space to fill water if you need to. The one in the back is for community water. So typically when you go camping, you go camping with people. So if you need water to wash your dishes, if you need water to cook with, if you need water for anything like that, it's good etiquette to have a 3rd water bottle that's dedicated just to water for everyone that's also camping with you. So that's basically water, here's food. And to cook my food, This is just an MSR Pocket Rocket stove. It's like 30 bucks. And I've had this since I was in Scouts. So that's easily 15 years old. This is a GSI Soloist. It's just a cook pot. It also has a food bowl. And then inside there is also my gas for the stove. And it all fits in this nice little package. And then this little bag on the outside is nice to have because it's a place to wash your dishes. Then finally, I have just a cup to have my morning coffee in, or hot chocolate or anything. It's nice to have a dedicated cup for that because then you aren't going to be drinking the odds and ends that are left over from whatever your dehydrated meal is. You can eat that straight out of the pot or straight out of the bag. And then finally, I just have a eating spoon. This is a titanium one. They make plastic ones. I use a plastic one the majority of my backpacking career so far, but I got this as a Christmas gift, so I traded it out. Then on top of that, we move kind of more into even more basic stuff. Here are my hiking poles. These are just, anytime I'm doing a backpacking trip, this is used for stability. It's just, you know, when you have a big heavy load on your back, it's much easier to hike with those, and it just makes getting up those more steep hills a little bit less painful. Then, this is kind of where a lot of controversy comes up, but this is just a basic Swiss Army knife. Nothing super special, a couple knives, a corkscrew, a pair of scissors, and like a can and a bottle opener. The reason I put that out rather than the 15 other knives I have is it's a multi-tool. It's basically the original multi-tool. And when you're backpacking, especially backpacking, when you're camping, you can carry a heavier knife if you would like to. But when you're backpacking, you don't need a big heavy bushcraft knife. You don't need a big heavy survival knife. Really what you need is a little knife to cut open your freeze-dried meals and a little pair of scissors to maybe cut moleskin if you need it. Other than that, you're not building shelters or anything like that. So it's nicer to save weight. I mean, even this Swiss Army knife, that's a lot of metal in there. That's not light. So, but compared to my other knives, that is pretty light. Then on top of that, this is my fire making material. So these are just, I think I have a video on this. These are just super simple. It's just the Scott brand tissue paper. They come in these little wrappers. I take the cardboard on the inside, stuff it with lint from the dryer, and then wrap it in this. It's 100% free. It's all stuff you're gonna throw out anyway. In this little Altoids tin, I like keeping it in the Altoids tin because it keeps it neat. I have a ferrocerium rod, and I have a little Bic lighter. Then I have my headlamp so I can see at night. You could also use a flashlight, but the only thing with flashlights is they tend to be a little bit heavy, whereas this, your hand's free, and basically anywhere you look has a bit of light. And then finally, I bring this little mesh sack of rope. And that is so, you know, for this bag, I could tie my bear bag up. That's so I can guy line out my tarp. That's so I could do a bunch of other things. You know, you should never go into the woods without at least a little bit of rope. That's, you know, just, I think I got it at Harbor Freight. It's nothing special rope. It's not paracord or anything like that. Would I prefer to have paracord? Absolutely. And then finally, just a couple creature comforts. I think I've said that before, but I always bring a hat when I go into the woods. Anyway, or anytime I'm out in the woods, this will protect you from the sun, obviously, but it'll give you a little bit of like space in between your hood of your rain jacket and your face, so it's not sitting on your face. I always wear a hat when it's raining out, and it's just to keep that hood off the front of my face. I can cinch down the hood so it goes over the brim of it, and then I have a little bit of airflow and air to breathe rather than having that wet fabric as tight to my face. Then finally, this is just a really cheap kneeler pad that they do for gardening. But let me tell you, it's insulated foam. It's just simple closed cell foam. When you sit on that as opposed to sitting on the bare ground, then it makes a world of difference. Not only is it more comfortable, but it'll also insulate you when it's in the colder temperatures. So having something like that, it's super basic. I think that might have been $1 at a dollar store, but it makes a world of difference. So this is really just the basics for gear that I bring on any camping trip. It might switch out and change a little bit depending on if I'm backpacking, if I'm doing backpacking for a long distance, or if I'm just camping in 20 feet from my car. I might bring more stuff because then I really don't have to carry it anywhere. But this is really you know, if you have a new kid joining scouts, or if you have somebody that's just beginning out backpacking, this is a great baseline set of stuff that you need. Definitely, if your kids in scouts, check with their scoutmaster and see what is provided in terms of patrol gear. I assume they're going to be joining when they're on the younger side. So things like the tarp, or things like the water filter, or things like the bear bag, or anything like that, they might not need because the troop may provide it. And don't think that you need to go hot out of the gate and buy everything that's on this list. It's not true. That stove I didn't get until I was 3 years in. So just little things like that. Having a backpack is you need it. Having a sleeping bag, you need it. Having a sleeping pad, you need it. But really, a lot of the other things, water bottles, you need, rope, and some of more of the 10 essentials things. I'll do another video on that. But things like your own cook pot, your own stove, you don't really need. Your tarp, you don't really need. That stuff for more if you are going camping on your own. You're not going out in a patrol, or not camping on your own. If you're going camping as an adult, you're not going out on patrol with a bunch of other scouts, so you can't divvy up gear. There's no community gear to split out. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope if you have any questions, please throw them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer anything, especially if you're just starting out in camping. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.